Hello everyone and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. As we saw at the end of our last video, Valentina Kerbal is stranded in orbit. And in today's video what we're going to try to do is to bring her home safely. Now there's many things we have to set up before we undertake this goal. First thing we need to do is we need to unlock the ability to have Kerbals leave the ship when it's off the ground, or perform EVAs. And to do that, we'll need to upgrade the astronaut complex. When we right-click on it, we see right here the facility is at level 1, and it costs $75,000 to upgrade. As you mouse over the upgrade button, you can see in green what new things you will unlock. We can now have 12 active Kerbals. They can perform EVAs, and while on EVAs, they can plant flags if they're on something they could plant a flag into. So we're going to go ahead and click this to upgrade it. Now we can perform EVAs. Now in rescuing Valentina Kerbal, we won't be able to save the ship because we don't have docking ports or any means of making the ship move under its own power. So what we're going to do is we're going to send up a ship with an empty space, an empty crew area of sorts, and we're going to rendezvous with Valentina. We're going to plan out intercepts and attempt a rendezvous where we get close enough she can exit her vehicle, float or use an EVA jetpack, and fly toward the rescue craft, get in, and then we can bring the rescue craft back down. Now, in planning rendezvous maneuvers, we'll need to upgrade both our tracking station and our mission control. Now, we have $182,000 right now. Upgrading the tracking station will cost $150,000. That'll leave us with about $32,000. The problem is mission control requires $75,000, so we're going to come up short. Here's how we're going to get around it as best as I can come up with right now. We have no active contracts. We can take 2. Now, there's some of these that we can do that will get us money. However, there's something I didn't go over before I would like to go over now. If you click on them, you'll see your objective, you'll see your rewards upon completion, what they take from you upon failure. What's important is this right here. When you take a contract, they will advance you money. The different difficulties and prestige give you different amounts. But if you're ever short on cash to just launch one more mission, and you have the ability to take an extra contract, find one that gives you the most advance, and then go ahead and take it, and use that money to launch your mission, and hopefully get more money as time goes on. Now, some of these have a duration of a year. Expires means how long it will sit in this list, but duration, after you take it, you have 1 year to complete it. We're in video part 6, and we're on year 1, day 1, 4 hour and 35 minute, more or less. And there's 6 hours in a day on Kerbal, and between 300 and 400 days in a year. We have plenty of time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to choose a contract or 2 that pay out the most in advance. We're going to use that money toward upgrading our 2 facilities. Alright, looks like this one, haul the Rocco Max brand decoupler into an escape trajectory out of Kerbal, will pay us an advance of $20,040. So we're going to go ahead and take that one. And I believe the next highest was the first one we looked at, and that was this test out the Hammer solid fuel booster on a suborbital trajectory over Kerbal as well. And that pays us $18,000. So we'll take that as well. That's our max contracts. We'll get to these eventually, but what's more important is it gave us money. We have 220 now. That 150, that 75 puts us at 225. So we are still $5,000 short. How are we going to get $5,000? I have an idea. we're going to go into the tracking station and we're going to go up and visit Valentina. Now the reason we're doing this is because we just upgraded the astronaut complex, which means Valentina can now perform EVAs. Also, one thing I want to change, a little accident from the last one. You notice how when I tried to decouple this, I ended up activating the parachute because the parachute was in the wrong place in the staging order. As I mentioned also in that video, if you accidentally activate your parachute while in orbit, you can disarm it, in this case, or repack it. Since you can tell by the little icon over here in the corner that the parachute is a light blue, that means it's been activated, it's been armed, and it's ready to deploy, which means as soon as you enter the atmosphere, it will be destroyed. So, you would right click on the parachute, go to disarm, there, this parachute is good to go. Okay, now back to what we were doing. We're going to go to Valentina here, and we're going to perform an EVA. Now if you keep an eye on this indicator right here that shows our milestones, as soon as we do an EVA, we gain a milestone. We have performed a spacewalk in orbit of Kerbal. That gave us $12,000 right there. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. Well, while Valentina is outside the ship, we'll right click on her, take an EVA report. Gives us 8 science. We'll keep the experiment. We can't transmit it right now because Valentina does not have an antenna. Remember, see, no comms device on this vessel being Valentina. So, it automatically saved it, and you can click here to review report. Keep experiment, does the same thing. We'll hit B. There we go. And get back in. Now I'm going to try something else. I'm going to do another EVA, but I'm going to have her let go and see if that gives us a different amount of science. I think so. I don't know, we'll find out. Now, Valentina is floating away from the craft. This is very important. Don't let this happen. Press the R button, and it'll activate her little jetpack. If you hit the space button, she'll show her back to you, or the Kerbal, and it'll be facing where you're pointing. And then use the WASD keys to maneuver her or your Kerbal around back to the hatch. In this case, it's coming back around. Use the left shift and left control keys to go up and down. There we go. When you're close enough, you can hit B if it shows up, or F to grab. Oh, looks like we did already have that EVA report. Okay, we got that. We're back in. Everything is safe. We now have $232,000, which is more than enough, barely, to unlock both of these facilities. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, we're going to right click on the tracking station. Right now our orbits are visible in map. We knew that. We could see our orbits. If we mouse over the upgrade, patched conics visible in map. I don't know exactly what that means, although if you're curious you can always look it up and find out exactly what it means. But what that'll do is it'll allow us to see additional things about our orbit while in space. For example, if we happen to enter the sphere of influence of another planet in our or moon during our orbit, which we won't right now, but when we send things to the moon, you'll see what I'm talking about. Also, we're going to upgrade the mission control. We have we can take a max active contracts of 2, but if we mouse over upgrade, flight planning is available. That's what we want, because that will unlock the ability to do maneuver nodes. And maneuver nodes, I'll demonstrate really quick on Valentina again, allow us to choose a point in our orbit and be able to plan out how we want to move the ship at that point. If we hit M to go to map view, you notice our orbit is now blue in color instead of gray like it was before. And as you mouse over, you can see this little blue sphere up here around the orbit. When you click on the orbit or on that ball, you'll have 3 things pop up here. First off, it'll tell you how long it'll take to get you to that point. It's not updating real time for some reason. But then you can add a maneuver, or you can warp there. And by warp there, it means doing the time warp. It'll speed up time until you're at that point. Adding maneuver, though, will bring up this little interface. And then we have the 6 points in space that we can move. I'm not going to get into all that just because it's a mouthful. But essentially, these are your This is your prograde marker, this is your retrograde marker. As you click it and drag it toward or away from the center of this node, you'll notice this orange dotted orbit line appears, and this will be basically your orbit after you perform whatever maneuver you're setting here. As you open up the nav ball, you'll notice this indicator on the side. This is telling you how long, or basically how much, what is known as delta V, you have to use in order to reach this particular projected orbit. It'll tell you how long in node and T. It'll tell you how long until you reach that node, and this estimated burn. If it says NA, just turn on your engines for just a second to update that. It'll tell you how long you need to burn your engines for. And then on the nav ball, you see this blue arrow. If we move our ship or move our indicator on the gimbal toward that, that is our maneuver marker. That's basically where you want to be pointing your ship if you have a maneuver node, so that when you reach that maneuver node, that's the direction, that's where you want your ship to be pointing in order to reach the projected orbit that you have set up here. It's a mouthful. I'll try to show you in real time how it works, but as you click the prograde marker and move it away from the center of the maneuver node, you'll watch the orbit kind of go out. And if you bring it toward the center, you'll see the orbit shrink. Now the retrograde marker does the same thing but in reverse. As you pull it away, your orbit shrinks faster, but if you move it toward the center, your orbit expands slower. So retrograde and prograde, basically the opposite directions along your orbit. Now, the blue ones, which I believe are the normal and anti-normal, exactly what that means, don't know. But as you see it, as you move these, you'll see how the orbit kind of moves, how the orange, it's shrinking on this side, but growing on this side. It's almost like it's moving the orbit to the right, like that. Well, this one does the same thing, but moves it to the left. And then the purple triangles, or magenta, violet, whatever you will, these are your radial and anti-radial. I think those are the terms. These basically change the inclination of your orbit, whereas right now it is like so. If we were to do this, it angles like that, left and to the right. Now keep an eye out when you do this, because as you change your inclination, you're also changing other points of your orbit, and you may not even realize it, especially if you're looking at it straight on like I am. Our apoapsis on this projected orbit right now is 375. Sorry. Wow, stop that. Okay. If we right click on it, we see it fades out. That just means that number will stay up there even though we move our mouse away from it. As we mess with the radial and anti-radial, our inclination is changing, but so is our apoapsis. It's moving farther and farther away. Well, if we switch the other direction, same thing, also moves farther and farther away. That's something to keep in mind if you're in orbit and you want to change to, let's say, a polar orbit where you're circling from the North Pole to the South Pole. Play around with maneuver nodes. You'll figure them out as you go. It's once you get used to them, they can be very, very helpful. And that's what we're going to be doing today, is we're going to be using maneuver nodes to plan out our intercept of Valentina here. Now, if you don't like the maneuver node, or if it's in the wrong place, you can click and hold the center and move it around along your orbit. Or if you right click it, you'll have this indicator show up and just hit this red X to make it disappear. Another thing you can do is you can hit this red X over on your delta V indicator here, also makes it go away. Okay, so that's enough from that. We're going to go back to the Space Center, and really quickly I'm going to put together a ship that we can use to save Valentina. Probably just going to fast forward through this part, but just keep an eye out for the parts that I use, and hopefully this works. So I'll be right back with you. this is our rescue craft at the moment. It's not looking like it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We're going to change up our staging sequence really quick. We're going to have our boosters go off at the same time, our stability enhancers unlock, and that the Reliant goes off. Then we're going to have the two decouplers connecting the SRBs to the rest of the rocket go. Once they're empty, they'll just fall away. And then everything else should go as normal, except we're going to have... There we go. We'll have the Terrier go and not decouple at the same time. First parachute, two more parachutes. This is a Mark I crew cabin. It can hold two Kerbals. But we just need it for the one. And the problem... There's a problem with this, and I'll explain it once we get close enough and do our rendezvous. Okay, I think we're at our full part count. We're using SRBs for the first time. I would love to put struts on them, but we don't have the budget for it. Our parts count... Oh no. Our money count's too high too. Okay. Stand by. Gonna try to... yeah. Be back in a second. Okay, I don't know how we're going to do this at the moment, so let me try some things. I'll be back. We've replaced the bottom, our lift-off stage with the SRB. And we still have our swivel engine and our Terrier. Okay. Let's see if we can't put some of these on here. No. Those are expensive. $500 each. We have approximately $294 to work with. Math. Yep. Alright. Put a few more up here, just in case. Oh, yep. We're over by $6. Alright. Up here, we're not going to put 4. We instead put 3. Okay. Here we go. This is our rescue craft. Our pilot today is going to be Jebediah Kerman. We're going to keep these seats empty. And, oh man. Let's change our setup here. We got the booster going first. Then decoupling, swivel, decouple, Terrier, decouple, parachute, parachutes. 2 parachutes. Okay. Let's give it a shot. Alright, we're going to turn on SAS. We can go full throttle, but it really doesn't matter because this is an SRB and we'll go full throttle regardless. We'll press M, switch to map view and take a look downward. And then here we go, trying to control this thing. I am so lucky that I actually lifted off the ground. There we go. Whoops, overcompensated a bit. Wow. Okay. Bad time. Bad time. There. We're, yes, that's where we want to be going. Oh boy. What do we got? Not great. Not great at all. I'll kill the engines and we'll get to about 75 kilometers. There we go. Okay. Now, this is where we can use a maneuver node. If we click on our apoapsis right about where it is, and we set up add a maneuver, we can pull the prograde marker until our projected orbit is around the entire planet. In which case our apoapsis here would be 222. That's a bit high. Let's lower that. Let's put that at about 80. 85? No, let's do actual 80. We're going 80. There. So now our periapsis is going to be 75 kilometers, while our apoapsis is at 80. And this is telling us here that we have to use 1,508 delta V to get there. Now there's, at the moment, no way of telling what delta V is. You would need mods or mathematical formulas to tell you how much fuel you would need to use with the type of engine you have to produce 1508 delta V. In this particular case, it's telling us the node is in 30 seconds. We have to burn for about 1 minute and 40. And we need to point our ship at our maneuver node marker here. Go full throttle. Okay. Here I'm not entirely sure if we're going to be able to make orbit with this thing. And all of our $19 left. We might have to make some take some money making contracts. Alright, even though our maneuver node marker says to stay pointed here, what we're going to do is, since we're past our apoapsis marker, I'm going to point ourselves upward so we can move that back in front of us. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to be burning straight sideways before and on the apoapsis marker. If we keep burning sideways afterwards, we're falling toward the ground while still burning toward the horizon, which doesn't really help us. Oh, okay, and we're out of fuel. This mission was a dud. I'll go ahead and disable that maneuver node. Looks like we're going to land somewhere in the water over here. As we slow down, it might even be on the land. But we'll decouple that. We're going to go ahead and point our heat shield. Point our heat shield toward the prograde marker, but our capsule is pointed toward the retrograde marker. I have Jebediah do a EVA. Get back in. Take a crew report. That gave us nothing. Okay. Oh, and you notice when Jebediah, the only pilot we have on this ship, got out, the SAS automatically turned off. When he gets back in, you'll need to turn it back on in order to hold yourself steady. Same thing when you perform an EVA, when he's holding onto the outside of the capsule will spin because there's no one on board doing the stability assist. So that's that. Okay, I'm gonna both time warp and fast forward the video until we are landing. Really quick, fear not, we blew off the batteries. That's expected. They were sticking out pretty far, and during physics time warp, things happen really fast, and you can't really do anything about it. But no, we're fine. We still got parachutes. We'll be alright. Okay, we are not alright. That, I don't know. Okay, so now Jebediah is dead. This is a bad day. Okay, at this point, click the mouse. You'll have the flight results. What you can do is you can revert to launch, or you can revert back to vehicle assembly, or you can go back to the tracking station or space center. If you choose these two, Jebediah stays dead. If you choose either of these, you basically backtrack to before this whole mission happened, and you can try it again. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to revert to the vehicle assembly, because this ship did not work out that well. We're actually just going to put it on the shelf for now. That's a strange looking... Okay. I'm actually we're going to call that a day. Unfortunately, we did not rescue Valentina, and we will rescue Valentina soon. But I hope you learned something. I explained maneuver nodes. We upgraded some buildings. We tried our best to build a rocket around our monetary budget. What can I say? Sometimes things just don't work how you planned. Anyway, that's to do it for today. Won't be making any videos over the weekend, so stay tuned for the next video on Monday, where we will attempt to rescue Valentina again. I think sometime over the weekend I'll try to do some contracts or do something to get some more money. So when we start up on Monday, we'll have the funds to plan and do a proper rescue. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good weekend. Take care.